Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you with another review. As you can tell up there, it is another WWE pay-per-view review. Now, it's been a while since I've done the WWE or pro wrestling related video in general. It's just, haven't been keeping up with Raw other than listening to podcasts like Saw Monster Sounds Off. And I've been watching NXT mostly. I haven't watched this week's episode yet, or should I say last week's episode yet now, but I'm going to get to it before the new episode drops in a couple days. That one was mostly because of work, but I've been following around enough, so watching the pay-per-views the last couple months is fine, and it's not just out of time. It's mostly because that TV over there does not have a box at the moment, and I don't feel like taping it and then watching it in the front room when I have other shows that I do that with. Blue Bloods, Castle, Law and Order SVU, and the new show Code Black. That's just the main ones. But anyway, I went into the pay-per-view with only two matches I was looking forward to. The finals of the World Title Tournament, and of course, the Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatt family. And funny enough, those seem to be the only two matches that were promoted in any way, shape, or form. Now, before I get into talking about the specific matches, my overall thoughts on the pay-per-view, meh. As a whole, it's like meh. The two matches I mentioned were probably the highlights, especially the Undertaker-Kane Wyatt family match. Other than that, it was just meh. I didn't watch the pre-show like I normally do, so I missed one thing to note with that, and that is the return of Goldust. And of course, another thing to note is the ISIS threat that happened, and like I thought, nothing happened. Of course, it was good for a good laugh beforehand. ISIS threatens to attack Survivor Series. Yet another group for John Cena to bury. Now, talking about the specific matches I did watch, the first two matches on the pay-per-view were the matches I thought they were going to be. Roman Reigns defeating Alberto Del Rio, and Dean Ambrose defeating Kevin Owens. The endings I thought they were going to be. And on the whole, both matches I thought they were okay. I thought Ambrose and Owens had the better match, and they seemed to get the crowd a little bit more into it, and they seemed to be more into it. I think mainly because Owens is so great as a heel, and just him trying to put Ambrose down and get him down, he did some great reactions, and of course it ended the way I thought it was going to end, with Ambrose winning. Reigns and Alberto Del Rio, I thought they did the best match they probably could have, given the time they were given. Maybe they could have done a better match, or maybe this is the best type of match they can do, but it ended the way I thought. According to some other reviewers that I've watched before doing this, apparently the fans are booing him. I didn't catch the boos for Reigns during this match, but I did catch it during his match with Ambrose, which didn't surprise me, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Now, we had one traditional Survivor Series tag match on the main card. The pre-show also had one, but the main card one was Ryback, the Usos, and the Lucha Dragons defeating the New Day, Sheamus, and Barrett. It didn't surprise me that the faces went over, but with what happened later in the night, I'm surprised they didn't have Sheamus be the last man standing for his team. The in-ring highlight of this match was the Lucha Dragons and the Usos doing a dive over the ropes, knocking everyone down, and then as they're getting up, Ryback getting on the top rope and jumping down. That was actually a pretty cool moment. A Survivor Series moment for Ryback, especially since as he's climbing, the fans are going, "Feed me more." Shows Ryback is still over despite all the crappy booking he's gotten. Now, other than that, the most entertaining thing about this was the New Day's reaction, like their little promo walking down in the ring, and then of course at one point, Xavier Woods getting on the trombone and going, boom, 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 and then of course Barrett even doing a little dance with it. That was funny. And Sheamus' reaction when the New Day left after Big E got eliminated, he's like looking around like, oh crap, I'm by myself. After that point, I think it probably would have been better for him to eliminate the last three members of the face team. That's just me with what happened later on, but with what happens at this, it makes what happened later on make no sense, but I'll get to that later. Charlotte defeated Paige by submission based on what happened last week on Raw. From what I heard about Paige's promo involving Charlotte's younger brother, didn't really surprise me. I stopped actually paying attention to the match after the first part of it. Did not seem like it should have gone the way it's been going with how their feud is. I was still paying attention loosely, but I got on my computer and added more stuff to my iTunes that I've been meaning to do. I also did this during the next match, which was Tyler Breeze versus Dolph Ziggler. Breeze never really been interested in his character. I can tell you he plays it well, just not interested in it. And him going over Dolph Ziggler doesn't surprise me. Ziggler now seems to just be an enhancement guy. Then we got to the main match I was looking forward to, the Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatt family, which it turned out to be Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Probably the main part of this was The Undertaker's entrance, which honored the 25 years of his career in WWE. I mean, as he's walking down to the ring on one part of the Titantron, they even have like the pictures of the different incarnations of him go up. Though I want to know if I'm the only one that noticed that when it started to show Big Evil Undertaker, it cut away like a couple seconds afterwards and then showed it again. But it was nice, and it made me think of all the stuff that I've seen the Undertaker do. Because, granted, he's been this second run of Deadman Undertaker most of the time I've been watching. He was still Big Evil when I started watching, so I do have all those memories, like the match he had with Jeff Hardy, that Hell in a Cell match he had with Brock Lesnar in 02, you know, the feud he had with the little mini feud he had with Vince McMahon, and then the other feud he had with Kane that led to him coming back as a dead man, then all that stuff in the 2000s. I mean, him winning the world title from Batista at WrestleMania, his feud with Shawn Michaels that led to Shawn Michaels' retirement, the end of an era stuff with Triple H, and then of course his match with Punk at WrestleMania, which has to be the match with my favorite counter, The Undertaker, when he's in the Anaconda device. He just looks at Punk, and then Punk's like, "Oh shit." Now the match went basically how I thought it would. It's going to be in. I think Solid Monster put it best in his review of this pay-per-view. This is basically a glorified squash match, not in the same vein as Lesnar versus Cena at SummerSlam last year, but mostly it. I mean, they take out Eric Rowan at the beginning with a double chokeslam, and then they double chokeslam Strowman later on through the announce table. And unlike the last time someone went through the announce table on pay-per-view, they actually moved the monitors. Then, of course, Taker gets the pin with a tombstone, but I notice he pinned Harper, which keeps Bray a little bit strong, but, you know, not as strong as if, say, the Wyatts had won. But The Undertaker and Kane going over at this pay-per-view I thought was a smart idea. Whether or not this feud will continue, which I don't think it will, but who knows, remains to be seen. Then we had Reigns defeat Ambrose in the final of the tournament, becoming World Heavyweight Champion. As I said before, I noted that there was boos during this match on Roman against Reigns. There might have been some cheers afterwards, but I noticed the boos more, which didn't surprise me much because it seems that the fans like Ambrose more than Reigns. I like both of them. It's just my main problem with Reigns is they really script his promos way too much. And for his character, the type of promos they have him script does not work. If anything, he probably should be a man of few words, and when he speaks, it is important. Or if he just or his promos are just short, sweet, and to the point. But the main problem I had with this is the match was just way too short. I mean, there was some brawling in it, which made sense for how these two guys are with friends. I mean, they're friends, but when it's a match where something important's on the line, they're gonna, not hesitate to fight each other, which is a thing I like about their friendship. I mean, it goes back to a pay-per-view several months ago, I forget which one off the top of my head, where it was just left to them, and then they look at each other, and it was Reigns that goes, "Loser buys the beers." So you get a little bit of vibe of that, especially when Reigns finally wins. Ambrose is congratulating his friend and then gives him the ring. Now, as this was going on, because of how short the match was, part of my mind was thinking, something's going to happen. But then in that sense of something going to happen grew the moment I heard Triple H's music starting him come out. Then, of course, Reigns speared him, which is like, considering what Triple H had done earlier in this storyline, offering him a bye to the finals if he becomes basically the new corporate champion. Didn't surprise me that was going to happen. But then the moment I saw Sheamus, I knew what was going to happen. Sheamus, after 2 brogue kicks, the first one of which Reigns kicks out of, Sheamus is our new world champion. Now, a little bit after that, I turned the pay-per-view off, so I don't know exactly what happened after that, if there was any more stuff of whether Reigns got beat down or not. Because after that, I'm like, okay, Sheamus, new champion. Now, I don't really mind Sheamus. I mean, he's not the best in-ring guy. The main problem I have with him is how his character has been portrayed, especially since he came back. I mean, I don't mind, him as a heel, and of course I don't mind his hairdo and all this stuff, and it adds a little bit to him yelling at the fans when they say he looks ridiculous. But they just haven't built him up as strong as he should be, especially after he won Money in the Bank. But that seems to be a problem they do with Money in the Bank winners anyway now, is that they make him lose a lot before they use it. And if you were going to make him win tonight, why didn't you have him win, be the sole survivor of his team? It would have built him up more, and it would have made this make a little bit more sense. I just hope as world champion this time around he does a better job than last time, Though I'd say his win the first time was a lot more impressive since he took the title from John Cena. Yes, it was in a tables match, but he still took it from John Cena. Here he took it from Reigns. Hopefully this makes the story a little bit more compelling, but I have to say that this is probably not the best ending they could have done. Having Ambrose or him go healed at the end of the match would have made much more sense and would have made the first storylines coming out of this pay-per-view a lot more interesting, but we'll just wait and see what they do with this. But I have a feeling it's not going to be as compelling as Reigns turning heel, whether he joined the Authority or not, or Ambrose snapping and turning on his friend because he lost. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't know what my rating for this pay-per-view would be, I guess based on what I like, being generous, a 2 out of 5 if I were to give it a rating, but definitely not the best Survivor Series ever, though the only other one that I really could compare it to that I've seen in its entirety is the 02 one, and I think you could see not a good comparison when you compare those two.